First of all, I want to welcome Francis Gordon and congratulate him on being president. The same with Dennis Brendan. I haven't met you in the committee already, so I wish you well in your new roles. And indeed, for the sake of farmers, I wish you all the very best. I'll take up where Francis was talking about there, the small farmers. This is terrible that is going to affect small farmers, and I know one particular farmer, he have 58 cows and he has to reduce to 44. I was on the phone to him there a while ago, and like, he has a son and he worked all his life and built up his place and his modern, and he have everything right, and there's nothing wrong as far as the farmyard or anything like that. He back a few years, and it was my father helped him to get an underpass across the main Rathmore Mill Street Road when it was a problem that time. That was one of the issues that he had, and that was sorted out. And to get at the other half of his farm, he didn't want to be crossing the road like that. Was costly for him at that time, and he certainly wanted his place to continue in his name, but the son have decided no, because of this and because of other things, that the son is going to stay going on his apprenticeship and go that route now, and won't be coming back to the farm because of this. And this happened before with small farmers, and it hurt me very much, because when as you know, we were small pub in a small village, and I knew every fella's story that time, and the small fellas that had to get out of milk production because of the quota. And you see, what was very wrong about that, there was fellas with 10 and 15,000 gallons of a quota. They were limited, they couldn't expand, and they couldn't live on that because we know the requirements and the standard of living have gone up, and they couldn't stay with it, and they weren't allowed to increase their quota. And then at the same time, I remember too well on the TV, there was farmers that had 100,000 gallons of a quota, and they were complaining. Now, far and wide is the difference, and to the same, this fella with 58 cows, and we see other fellas with 200 or 300 cows, and they have room, to still live on the, by reducing a bit. But this fella have no hope, or his son have no hope. So that's the example that I want to give you, and I think this is very, very wrong. And when I hear that we're depending on Minister O'Gorman and Minister Ryan to get us out of the mess that we're in now, and the knot that we're in, and the problem that we have, I'd say, lads, we're up against it. We're up against a concrete wall. And it is very wrong, because, every elected member, or people that are not non-elected, they're entitled to their view and to their opinion. But it is very wrong when we see the green tail wagging the dog now, and I can't understand why the government will allow this to happen and hurt small fellas like this. And at the same, when I hear about the water quality, and I'm very worried about that, because there's a way more forces at play if the water is wrong. We've no treatment plants in maybe 30 or 40 settlements around Kerry. We're roaring and shouting above there inside at these fellas, and to do something about it, just in Kerry alone. And some of the plants that we have are not up to scratch. Take Castle Island. I got documents above in an old shed in the farm by my father going back to 1986, where they were looking for an extension for the solar scheme in Castle Island. There's no hope. In nearly 50 years now, there's no sign of it. And don't anyone tell me but that water quality is being affected by as much by septic tanks and the proliferation of them in certain places Yeah, and this is actually inside the town. You'd say something, if it was out the country, this is an extension of the town, it is part of the town, they're all in septic tanks, and at the same time, we're going to blame the farmers there in that place, and there's good land around Castle Island, there's good farmers around Castle Island, they kept up with it. But it's very wrong, whether it is Europe or here, is not listening to us. But there's other forces that play with the water, and that has to be recognised. Look, the planning is an issue, and there's good farmers out there that can't get planning permission. There's objections going. There's serial objectors, and I hear what you're asking about the exempted. I'll be asking for that. That's a good idea. Where I mean, if Liebers and the National Secondary Road can expand their business, a farmer should be able to, in the same way, should be entitled to expand his facilities to cater for what is that. So I listened to that, and the TAMS grant and the grants and the VAT story that have us driven mad in our office with since last September or October. I mean, there's no point in the world any minister coming out and saying, "Look, we'll give you a grant for storage or whatever," and then that you won't get the VAT back. Sure, one is cancelling out the other, and that's not fair. And I've been raising that. Others have been raising that, and it's very wrong. And listen, lads, the big elephant in the room, and I'm up against the clock, is sequestration. I mean, take our little parish of Kilgarn. If we stood in a high place, and I've taken the media up there and everything, we've only a few dots of green fields here and there around the place. The rest is trees, bushes, scrub, every kind of rubbish. You couldn't put out a bag of fertiliser in it. I mean, you couldn't travel it. And all the ways into Westcock, over the hills, most way near Westcock, and all the ways back to Castlebine, and over Mangerton, up into Mangerton Mountain, and all around the periphery of all the parishes. I mean, we're making, and I'm asking the new presidents to fight this case. Why do we have to wait for the sequestration to be measured? We were told to 2027. No, there's no account of it. I'm asking you, lads. I mean, how can we take penalisation if we aren't getting, acknowledged for what we're sequestering?
Thank you, Dan.
The whole thing is absolute rubbish.
Thank you, Deputy Healy-Rae.
I suppose I'd make a brief comment on it. Look, in terms of the small family farm, what's really penalising them is the fact that, and frustrating them, that the reduction in the stocking rate is not going to deliver an improvement in water quality of any great difference, but it's going to impose a huge financial penalty on those farms, and in some cases force them out of business. There's no question about that. And I suppose I'll make a quick comment about the planning. Not alone do we want the exemption, we need the planning process in this country reformed properly. It's not fit for purpose. We have serial objectors, as you said yourself, coming in, holding up planning applications, and it's unacceptable. They're clogging up the system, and for me, that's one of the first things that needs to be addressed. I don't know, I won't keep a hold of it. Maybe Tig or John from our side want to add to the comments, but I agree with you.
Could you answer regarding Deputy Healy-Rae?
I agree totally with you. Like, the small farmer is the one that's hit because he or she doesn't have the ability to reduce and remain viable. And we made that point earlier on. We gave the example of the farmer with 35 hectares, which is only 87 acres, and he's at maximum at the moment. If he's good land, he can be at 98 cows. But if we go to 170, he's going to be down to 56 cows. So, I mean, how does that raise the family and pay bills and pay a mortgage and put kids through college or whatever? On the issue of sequestration, and I agree totally with you, but the problem we have at the moment, no matter what we do as farmers on our farm, we can't get credit for it. Like, if I plant forestry on my farm, the sequestration of that forestry doesn't come to me. I can't net it. I can't get any credit for it against my emissions. It goes to land use change and forestry. If I re-wet a bog that's on my farm, it doesn't come to me, it goes to land use, change and forestry. If I put up a wind turbine on my farm, it goes to the energy sector. If I put up solar panels on my farm, it goes to the energy sector. And if I had 20 million loose cash around and put up an anaerobic digester, that wouldn't even come to me. I'd get no credit for it, it would go to the energy sector. So this is the problem, and we as farmers, I suppose, need the politicians to change the rules in that scenario, that no matter what I do wrong, it's put down against me, but all the things I can possibly do right, some other sector gets them. And that's the unfairness of the system.
Senator Daly.
Can I just say, we may as well be in a dictatorship. Get some fella like Castro, or we couldn't be any worse, because, I mean, when I hear her naming out all those things, and that is a fact, you're right, and I'm aware of them things. It's absolutely terrible what we're enduring, Chairman.
Point well made.
You may be in the government, but I'm not blaming you personally. You might be part of it in some way. But I have to say this, because it is absolutely ridiculous what's going on, that the farmers and the old cows being blamed for everything.
Thank you, Deputy.